Well, we're getting ready. I just have something I want you to think about and do now, but we're not going to use it until later. I gave you a slip of paper that says, which way do you learn new content or concepts easily? Now, we're all adults. I want you to think back to when you were in school, maybe in high school. All right? So think about how you like to learn the best, the teacher that was the best for you, or think about when you learned something new, like you learned how to crochet, or you wanted to figure out how to use the computer, or what were some of the other things we talked about? Baking, maybe. I mean, my girls keep saying to me, Mom, we want you to tell us how to make the potato salad. I can't. I have to show them because I don't have a recipe. Driving, okay? What way do you like to learn the best? It may not be all the time. And I really don't want you to pick two things. I want you to pick one thing. All right? Are you mostly a visual person? You have to see it. It has to be pictures, diagrams, color coding, something. You have to see it happen. Or you're auditory. You love lectures. You love to listen to somebody tell you. Maybe you like reading and writing. Or maybe you're a kinesthetic learner. Today they would call it sensory motor. Think about Montessori. Do you like doing something? Learning. Like when I learned to crochet, I had to look, but I had to be doing it myself. Okay. So Jill and Lynn and I put what we like there. Jill, I don't know if I remembered you correctly, but I put Lynn and Jill and I were all kinesthetic, but Lynn couldn't pick one. So she put visual also. Don't do that. She just put one. And you don't have to necessarily put names on these. We're just trying to compare what our likes and dislikes are. Or, how we like to learn the best. And we'll get to that later. But while you're sitting and we're waiting for the last one. Kathy, where would you put you?
I'm a visual learner.
Okay, I'm going to put you.
I need a YouTube video.
Oh, okay. I need a YouTube video. There you go. I didn't even think of that. All right.
I like to watch YouTube videos. That's how I learned how to knit.
All right.
That's how I learned how to paint.
Okay. Really? Wow. Yeah. I know. I'm really on visual and kinesthetic, probably. I knew you had said two. Yeah. But visual kind of is kinesthetic, really, if you think about it.
They're very similar.
Yeah. Do you want us to take them up now? Yeah. This is just what we're waiting. We'll put them up here, but we'll get to what we're going to do with this a little later. I've got stuff being delivered.
Was I supposed to put my name? She said no.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. No, I said you didn't have to. No, I said you didn't have to, but you could. You didn't have to. Okay. No, it doesn't write well, does it?
Oh, glad everybody else is on.
Thank you. Yeah. Interesting. Sure that stays up there. Okay. Well, welcome. Thank you for coming. Thank you for the ministry you do, the ministry you are about to do with our children. We CSG, I didn't put that anywhere, but the CSG team, if you look on the back, yes, you will see some of those folks are in the room. So the folks that make all of this happen with me are, so Mary is our nursery coordinator, and Suzanne
on here on the end. Jane over there in the green. We also have Diane Destino Lane. She poked her head in here a minute ago. Kathy up here. We also have Caitlin Orkin. Not this Caitlin, another Caitlin, Caitlin Orkin. She is a youth representative to our team. We also have Jonathan Bonds, who's the representative to trustees, but that team makes all of this happen. That brochure that you have in your hand is most of what we do throughout the year. So I encourage you to take that. There's going to be more available in the office and in the information booth or information desk, and it'll be online. Our new website just went live this morning. So yes, it did. I know. So excited. So that, as well as other information about the Children and Family Ministries, will be on the children's link, and there's going to be a parent link with under the children too. So all of that and more will be on there. So take a look at what we do. A little bit later, if you're interested in helping or planning any of those things, there are sign-up sheets in the back that you can, even if you just want information about what that means to plan that, help us plan that, you can put your name on there and get more information about that. So that, in a nutshell, is all that we do. And you are a part of that. Thank you for making it all happen. Before we get into the nitty-gritty, I thought we would do a fun little icebreaker / get to know you. And it is called, I'm going on a picnic. If you know the parameters of this, don't let the secret out. It goes like this. So I will say, and we'll go around the room, I will say my name and something that I'm bringing to the picnic. Okay, and then the next person, so if we go this way, Diane would say my name and what I'm bringing to the picnic, and her name. You can do it. You can do it.
I'm saying I'm first.
You can do it. I promise. And what she's bringing to the picnic. Now, I'm the holder of the things that are allowed at the picnic. So there are secret parameters to what you can bring to the picnic, but I'm not going to tell you what they are. You have to figure it out by whether your thing that you're bringing is acceptable or not. Okay? Let me just tell you, don't make it more complicated than it is. Okay? It's pretty simple. All right.
Can we get a shock if we?
No.
If we're wrong?
Yes. So I'll say, no, you can't bring that.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And but then the next person will go.
Okay.
And so we'll come back around. So you get another turn. Okay. My name is Jill, and I'm going to bring Jelly to the picnic. Jelly.
My name is Diane, and I'm going to bring potato salad.
No.
Should have said peanut butter.
You know it, don't you? You know it.
You said I have to say your name.
Yeah, so don't repeat Diane because she can't bring what she's said.
Okay.
But I'm Jill.
So you're Jill, and you're bringing Jelly to the
Mhm.
picnic. My name is Mary, and I'm bringing with mangoes.
Yes, she is.
Mangoes.
Mangoes?
Do I have to say both?
Yes.
Jill, you're bringing jelly. Mary, you're bringing mangoes. My name is Rachel, and I'm bringing ranch.
Yes, you may.
You're bringing what?
Ranch dressing.
Oh, ranch dressing.
Yes, you may.
Jill is bringing jelly, Mary is bringing mangoes, Rachel is bringing ranch dressing, and I'm Miriam. I'm going to bring a mat.
You may bring a mat. Yes.
Matt.
I don't know a lot of people know how to do this.
Just listen.
Okay.
Just listen.
Jill is bringing jelly. Mary is bringing mango. Rachel is bringing ranch dressing. Miriam is bringing, right? Miriam is bringing a mat, and I'm Danica, and I'm bringing donuts.
You are. You are.
Jill's bringing jelly. Mary's bringing mangoes. Rachel's bringing ranch dressing. Mary's bringing rat. Danica's bringing something that starts with D.
I
don't remember.
Donuts? I think it's
Donuts.
donuts.
And I'm Caitlin, and I'm bringing keys to the picnic.
Keys, okay, you may bring keys to the
Keys.
Would you like
to start the car?
Yes. She's leaving. She's gotta get there somehow.
Jill's bringing jelly, Mary's bringing mangoes, Rachel's bringing ranch dressing, Mary's bringing a mat, Monica's bringing donuts.
She's bringing keys. Caitlin's bringing keys.
There's too many K's. And I'm Jane, and I'm gonna bring Jello.
Okay, you may bring Jill. There's a lot of J's too, right?
Jill, I'm terrible at names. I can tell you what y'all brought, but I can't.
That's okay, we'll help you.
I'm always bad.
Did you?
I did.
Uh-huh.
Jill is bringing, see, I can't even remember what she was bringing. Jelly.
Jelly.
And Mary mangoes, and Rachel ranch dressing, and Miriam is bringing Matt, and Kate.
Danica.
Danica, yeah, I should have. Danica donuts, Caitlin keys. Yeah. Jane, Jello. Jackie is bringing juice.
Ah, good choice.
Jill is bringing jelly. Mary's bringing mango. Rachel's bringing ranch. Miriam is bringing a mat. Danica is bringing donuts. Caitlin is bringing keys. Jane is bringing Jello, and Jackie is bringing juice. I'm Becky, and I'm bringing biscuits.
There you go. It'll go with my jelly.
Yeah.
I'm not going to this picnic.
There's no sustenance.
I'm Suzanne and I'm bringing sangria.
Oh!
I'm coming to that picnic.
No, I told you. All right, so Jill is bringing jelly. Mary is bringing mangoes. Rachel is bringing ranch dressing. Miriam is bringing a mat. Danica is bringing donuts. Caitlin is bringing keys. Jane is bringing Jello. Jackie's bringing juice. And Becky is bringing biscuits. And I'm bringing sangria.
Sangria, nice, nice. Kathy, ready to take? Did you hear everyone?
Yeah, I could. I can try.
We'll help you if you need.
Okay, Jill is bringing jelly, and Mary's bringing mangoes, and Rachel's bringing ranch. Miriam's bringing a mat. Danica's bringing donuts. Caitlin's bringing keys. Jane is bringing Jello. And Jackie's bringing juice. And Becky's bringing biscuits. And Suzanne is bringing sangria. And I'm Kathy, and I'm bringing ketchup.
We got quite a thing going here. Nice. So I'll go again, and then you can go. Or do you want to just go?
Oh, no, go ahead. Are we doing, we're doing over?
Yep, so I'll go and then you. So Jill's bringing jelly, Mary's bringing mangoes, Rachel's bringing ranch, Miriam's bringing a mat, Danica's bringing donuts, Caitlin's bringing keys, Jane is bringing Jello, Jackie's bringing juice, Becky's bringing biscuits, Suzanne is bringing sangria, and Kathy's bringing ketchup. Woo! Now, Diane.
Okay.
My name's Diane. I start with you and then I end with what I'm bringing.
Yeah.
Okay. Jill is bringing jelly. Mary, thank you. Mary's bringing mango. Rachel's bringing ranch dressing. Miriam's bringing the mat. Danica's bringing donuts. Caitlin's bringing keys. Jane is bringing Jello. Jackie's bringing juice. Becky's bringing biscuits. Suzanne is bringing sangria.
Kathy's bringing ketchup, and I'm bringing dogs.
There
Hot dogs.
we go, okay. I thought you meant you were just bringing your pet dogs. That's okay too. Nice.
Funny.
Good job. And I bet you know each other's names a little bit better too.
We do.
Thank you. Nicely done. Nicely done.
It's a donut lady.
How about I actually? So we've kind of for a couple of years used this. Actually, I think it's right on here. You don't do that. Is it? It used to be. Yes. Well, one verse shorter. Let's see. Well, okay. So it just has, it encapsulizes it. Loving God and loving neighbor. But let me read the whole thing. Mark 12. This is really what we try to instill in the kiddos. 29. Okay, so essentially when asked by a scribe the greatest commandment, Jesus said, the first is, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. The second is this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than these. So I think if we teach our kids anything, that's what we should be teaching our kids. Love God with everything you have, and love your neighbor, no matter who your neighbor is, as yourself. So that's what we try to do. And we do that here at Westminster, really leaning into a sense of wonder. In all that we do here in Westminster's Children and Family Ministries, we try to lean into a sense of wonder, trusting that God's Spirit will show them where God's story interacts with their own story. So we want kids to engage with the stories, to know that these stories that they read from Scripture, they're not only God's stories, but they're their stories. So that's something that's really important to me, and I think to us here at Westminster. Okay, so Suzanne is going to be doing most of these yellow slides. I've color-coded everything. If you haven't noticed, I really love color and color-coding things. So I'm a visual person too. So before Suzanne takes over though, I'd love for Mary to talk a little bit about the nursery and the ministry that takes place there. And Rachel's, you're more than welcome to chime in.
If I miss anything.
If you miss anything. So if you would be so kind.
Yeah.
Do you want to stand or do you not want to?
I am fine. Just asking.
I'd love for you to stand so that
Okay.
everyone can, but if you're not comfortable, I'll sit so that you can take the stage.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Mary, and just brief, quick points. So the nursery is 6 months to 4 years. I try to do my best to make sure it's like around the building, because we've had little minor incidents where we've had people come in for a new members class and somebody tells them, oh, you can bring your baby down, and then we get like a 2-month-old and we're like, sure. And then you don't want to be like, no, thank you. But so it's usually 6 months to 4 years. And when they are with us, we do play with them, engage with them, arts and crafts. We have Play-Doh, we'll bring Play-Doh out. We do have the kiddos who
There's one of them.
There's one of them who do tend to cry a lot when they come in. So we usually put on some music on the TV, but mostly we put in the worship services because they like to see mom and dad. Especially we have a few that are in the band or in choir, so they're able to point them out, and it makes them feel a little bit calmer to see their parent. So we do that. And then towards the end, I've been doing my best. Doesn't always happen every Sunday, but we bring out Phil, you would know, the big storyboards. I feel like we have to practice individually beforehand because sometimes in the back we flip it before we realize what the kids are seeing. But we try to do that at the end, so we tidy up the room like 15 minutes before pickup, so it's not kids running out the door. And we sit around and read together. I also have started incorporating towards the end of the year, this past year, like this past spring, only one parent comes into the room and no older kids come into the room. That way it also eliminates littles running out the door when we can't see who's running out when everybody is kind of bombarding us in. I have finished my manual and I'm working on a welcome letter for parents, just sort of rules and guidelines. I love having the kiddos down, and Rachel can agree, we love having the kids down, but one of the biggest things that I found to be really difficult is when parents bring sick kids down, and then we're just passing germs around, getting each other sick, and then it's just a constant cycle. And I love that they feel comfortable to come into church even with sick kids. So one of my new policies is if your kid hasn't been fever-free for 24 hours, has a runny nose that's a little bit mucusy, or even a very kind of cough, or even green, we would like you to just keep your kid with you, just to make sure we don't get sick, because there's 4 of us now who are on staff, and it's hard, and I know my immune system is the worst. All it takes is one sneeze and I'm out for a count. So I try to limit all of us getting sick as much as possible. And then what else do I have? Also another thing that I'm trying to incorporate, so if any of you do help out in the nursery, is being really, which will be in the welcome letter, is be very strict on the time that parents need to come down and pick up their littles, especially for the 9:30. I think it's very important to limit it at 10:45 the latest. That way my staff can go upstairs and get coffee or take a bathroom break without feeling like we need to take turns to leave the room, and just to keep ratio and numbers in the room equal. So that is something that I will make sure is on the newsletter for parents for the first day, and also something I will be making sure in this month of September, I just keep reminding parents 10:45, please come and pick up your little, so my staff can go to the bathroom and do what they need to do for 15 minutes, because once usually parents roll in their kids at like 8:50, and so usually we're literally in the room maybe 5 minutes and we already have kids coming down. So just to give us time before the next bunch come in.
Can we ask for?
Yeah.
Sure.
Do you serve snacks or do the kids, can they bring food?
So I'm trying to figure out how to maneuver us providing snacks, but because it has been a thing where I may need like a stash of snacks. So a lot of the kids bring their own snacks, but then I especially have 3, including my own. We'll just go through the snacks once they're hungry, and then we're looking at each other like, we're so hungry. Where do we go? And we usually run, we'll take turns running up the Cafe 10 West and being like, apples, banana, what do you have up here that we can grab? So I encourage parents to bring snacks, but I'm also kind of figuring out what we could provide that is allergy-free as well.
The struggle that we have, and we've gotten to the point kind of across the board that we're not providing food anymore. We didn't for Camp Spark. We had them bring food because we have a lot of very significant allergies. And we have a couple of kiddos that not only have allergies, but have digestive syndromes that they have to be brought specific food. And just from a liability standpoint, I just want to not get into any.
But the only thing I say about providing snacks is coming up to Cafe 10 and getting fruit. So usually on the sign-in sheet, if a parent is bringing their kid in that's not a check-off mark, there's a spot that says snacks okay, and then they'll say yes or no. And I usually will say, is it okay if I can go upstairs and get oranges or banana or an apple, like, would that be okay for me to give your child? And I do my best when kids are eating to separate them with their snacks. So obviously, again, you don't want somebody reaching into somebody else's snacks and getting to it.
Yeah. It's just.
So Cafe 10 is a beautiful, beautiful thing for me to have.
I want to say how much I appreciate Mary. When I came on board 2.5, going on 3 years ago, there was no real manual for the nursery. And so, and there was a lot of confusion about what ages could go and what ages couldn't go. And some congregation members thought that older kids could go because it was called childcare. But then you get into safety issues when they're a little more rambunctious, right? The older you get into a first or second grader or whatever, and they need space to be able to be a kid, but then you have babies. And so it's been a safety issue. So we pulled a lot of material together, and I essentially handed Mary, like, here's a bunch of things I suggest. And so Mary's been working on an actual manual to have. So I appreciate Mary more than she knows. I try to tell her, but and all of the nursery staff really does a great job.
I think I could survive without them.
No, we really couldn't. We could not survive without them. And this year we hopefully have a better volunteer base to help supplement that. I hope so.
And then last but not least, the downstairs doors will be locked after 9:30. So if anybody in the room comes in
Yeah, thank you.
after 9:30, those doors will be completely shut for the rest of those services. So you can only exit, you can't come back.
Yeah. You can get into the other places.
Yeah.
Of the other doors of the building, but those will be locked at 9:30. Because especially during the summer, they've been down there alone. And so and it's hard for them to see who's coming in and who's coming out. And so we're just, for safety, we're just locking them at 9:30.
I noticed, Jill, when I came in last week, the director had a question, and the chip, I call it chip key, but I don't know what it is.
The fob thing?
It's
Yeah.
on the outside now.
Yes.
Because before you could get in the inside lobby, and they could go right up the steps and get in. And I tried to tell that many years ago. So I was glad to see that
Yes.
nobody's going to be caught in between that now.
Yeah.
They're trying to get into.
Yes. Yes, yeah, and that became evident when you guys did that, which was good for you, but for me, it was also like, for Camp Spark, Danica was here one time before we got the doors open. And so she was able to get in to that space and then go up and around into the building, which is great because she needed to. By the same token, I was like, anybody
Other people
could have done that.
It was the little going into third grade boy that figured that out for me.
Oh, so
Yeah.
So it's easily figured out
Yes.
or known, right? So now you can't, once the outdoor is locked. If you have a key fob, which staff has, I don't know where it is. Here it is. Over here somewhere? No? Maybe I took it back to my office.
You have a fob and a code as well? Is it just the fob will get you in?
Just the fob, although we now are supposed to have, on our cell phones, we have an app that should open it. Mine doesn't. Mine opens this one, but for whatever reason, it won't. They're really sensitive. And so if you don't have that, and you can't just have the app, you have to be coded into the app to be able to use it. So yeah, that little loophole has been closed. So yes.
Do you ever take the kids outside?
Because Cause
I'm just asking, I don't think I'm not telling you you have to, I'm
Yeah.
just curious.
I think if we have walking kids, the
Mm,
majority
all
of
of them
all of them are walking, then we'll do it. But if there's if there's more kids who are not capable to walk, it's harder for us to navigate and like carry them and walk all the other kids. So
Yeah.
We'd have to be mindful of the playground, what it's rated for also, because it's a liability issue, it might not be rated for kids under 3.
Yes.
So,
Thank you.
well, thank you. Oh, also,
Yeah.
encouraging
Yes.
3 and 4-year-old parents, and I lead by example because to go to
We connect.
Connect,
Yeah.
Kids Connect, instead of coming down to the nursery, they could do that instead. And I have Samuel signed up.
Song for kids. Song registration.
Yeah, so I try to encourage that. That has really upset a few parents in the past. But I keep telling
Yeah.
especially to
It's great exposure.
yeah.
It is,
And
yeah.
and if they're not happy upstairs or it's too much for them, just please let Jill know, to let us know, to one of us can come and get them.
Yeah, I think it's good, and we're, that's where Diane is, with me and we connect, and we know that, and we can get into this a little bit later too, but we know that 3-year-olds are going to respond differently than 5-year-olds. But, as we'll talk about, we let the Spirit work within them, and it will work as a 3-year-old can work. And we are okay. And a 5-year-old will work, and later in the 11 o'clock service, we go even older with that model. But we let them respond in the way that they're able. And like she said, if it gets to be too much for them for too long of a period, they can go back down to nursery and figure that out. So we'll work with the littles, but it is good to have that exposure and start going in that direction.
I just have one other question.
That's okay.
If the child is having difficulty downstairs, do you text the parent? Is that how it works?
There's a 20-minute time lapse. In that 20 minutes, are they doing an on and off cry? That's what we're doing. Okay, fine. We'll handle that. If it's just a full blown red face, gasping for air, just complete shrieking, to the point where I think we've had it maybe twice, where it's like made other kids start crying, and I can't. I've actually had to come up to the sanctuary to actually, I'm standing in the back, like looking for the head of the parent, because they didn't have their phone on.
Right,
And
yeah.
I've had parents who've just been like, yeah, that's totally fine, I'll be right there, and they'll come down very quickly. But I usually just tell them, we'll do our best. They're crying silly for time. Can't make them. Keep going.
Yeah.
For 40 minutes
Yeah.
or 30 minutes.
Yeah, if it's an unconsolable, then they start to have a negative perception of this space.
Yeah.
And that's one thing we definitely don't want. So. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Suzanne, you wanna take it away?
I do.
Okay.
I do. All right, so we are gonna get to this. And if I look at this, Kathy, you can close your eyes, it's okay. Close your eyes.
Take a little snooze, you're good.
And you can even turn your screen off, so you put your feet up, you're good. All right, so there's a lot of stuff up here. Beginning in worship, thought for the children, how they get dismissed, attendance and head count, classrooms, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sure the thing you are most interested in is, what am I going to be teaching? So, as Jill said, we want to have children learn about God as they experience God. And what I've learned being a K1 teacher, and in my I was a teacher, but I was more middle school, high school. The little kids, and especially my grandchildren, they're born knowing about God. They may not have the words, but they know it. So we're kind of gonna build on that. It's really, I can't tell you about it. I have to show it to you. I just couldn't tell you that. So the way we're going to do this, I am going to take some time and we are going to look at how we as adults worship. And then we're going to look at big picture, the young children in worship curriculum. And we're going to look at the big picture of growing in grace and gratitude, which is new for grades 2 to 5. And young children in worship, we, K1, who else is K1 here? Is anybody else? I thought it was just you. Okay, for now.
You're not the only one.
Right, there's a list, but you're just the only one here today.
Today,
Okay,
yeah.
so we're kind of doing a hybrid. Rather than hearing the story that Kathy does, we're going to hear the story the way they hear it in young children in worship. And then we're going to separate.
Oh, I like that.
I think it's gonna be okay. So, no, I don't want you giving that yet.
Oh, okay. Helpers, jump in the
You
head.
can't live with them and you can't live without them. All right, so I have a couple of questions. You're good. This is what I used to do to Roger and he's still married.
I was gonna say, that's what you said.
I did, I was. And I still love you. I know you do, he does too. I don't know why, but he does. Here we go. All right, I have some wondering questions. And they're really about you in worship as an adult. And I want you to talk to the person sitting next to you, or maybe the three of you want to talk together. Jill, you can get in on this also.
Okay.
These are the
I'm over here
questions.
with Diane.
You probably want to move. Oh, you're going to sit with Diane.
I'll come
Good.
over here and
All right. So there's 3 questions here.
Kathy.
Oh, and Kathy, sorry. I'll send you something electronically. But I will read them out loud. These questions are about your experience in worship, in that sanctuary. I would like you to talk with each other and think about how you prepare to go to school, to go to work, maybe you have a volunteer job, whatever it is you do. How do you prepare yourself to go and do that job? Because it's transition from being at home, right? How do you do that? And then I want you to think about yourself. So you're sitting in the sanctuary at a worship service. How do you receive Bible stories? How do we get it? I would say maybe, which one of these things do they use? You get us the story. And then, what are the opportunities for personal response to what you've heard or seen during the worship service? So just talk about it. I'm sure you're going to remember it. I'll only give you like 2 or 3 minutes, so this is quick.
This is not a lot of daytime.
This is as an adult. Yeah, you're the adult. This is about your worship time. All right, that's what this is about.
And so it's sort of like kids. That point in the morning,
I agree. I didn't.
Whichever. I haven't read that time. I like
Right
that. The quotes that they always have in front.
Would be.
I haven't read it.
My regular time would be probably more.
But I would say, preparing for
volunteering.
like work or doing it, I feel very indulgent.
It's just time. Yeah. So just regular time.
I mean, stressful.
I can't get my own stuff, I'm sure it's different. But my workstation is just strange. Gotta get on something. You have to be outside of work.
Yep, and you get home and
You're on a treadmill.
So I was
like,
thinking
I have
so.
to, myself, like, I have to walk the dog.
Yeah, I think it's everybody. And you read
see all the scope.
much better.
And that was literally
My
something
day.
that when we went to.
And-
So my plan.
I worked with, exactly, preparing him. If I remove myself from that, I can go
Yeah,
to.
so I have the same thing that you like.
I do love that.
Yeah.
It's very.
Yeah, and then when I get ready for, just make the meetings and learning today. I'm kind of like just saying, mine doesn't have to list, so I have to make lots of lists.
Like that.
Maybe there shouldn't be.
Yeah, it's definitely the auditory.
Well, I think also.
And then I hear next year they're gonna be. I like the tradition, so, and then your daughter is what?
Well, I like to show this my
Even when I was
teaching.
Yeah, they're like, it's fun. That's right. I said, right. I mean, even though, you know, when I didn't get one.
Right.
But pastors do this. It's absolutely expectation. I only know because no time
And so when I like to be around, I'm not pretending. So I
So I think my dance.
Wanted to everything. It's not as crazy. Like, you had children.
And the pastor's daughter, that's where my family.
I love that.
You're
probably the most.
Yeah, so that's just my spot.
Okay, now, one more minute.
So, but
One more
I
minute.
to read the entire book.
And in both services.
For me, it's just.
I like to read everywhere.
The role of Christ.
I still try to.
Yes.
I mean, that, at first I read that, I did.
3 weeks.
I love the sermon.
Yeah.
And that is really cool. Last.
Yeah, but I like to read I like.
I didn't see that, but I've heard about it. Bob Dyne.
So cool, because I remember meeting him
Yeah.
for time, and then we were sitting there, throughout like that.
But it's partially visual. Sitting there and sitting about it throughout.
That was such a fun. I think that was one of Don's
Coming to the service.
I pull it out. They're not having the first girl in mind.
I was still asleep for another 3 hours.
Let's bring everybody back. I think a conversation that probably could have gone a little further, but I'm sure that it has served its purpose. So we're just going to spend just maybe 2 or 3 minutes asking you to share some of the things that you heard in your discussions. So for that first question, how do you prepare in regular time, like going to your Monday through Friday job or whatever you do, and your worship time? Is it the same? Is it different? What kinds of things did you hear? What was your, all right, Caitlin.
So Jane and I both are intentional about looking at the bulletin often before we get here, just to preview like what's going to happen and to prepare ourselves to come here, but we're maybe not as intentional in other things we do, but because we are preparing for like Sunday school and what the service is gonna be after, during, or before, we make sure to get ourselves set up and ready to receive whatever message we're coming into.
Wow, that's great. So you go online and read the bulletin? Does anybody else go online and read the bulletin?
Yeah, they know.
I can't, you have to, it's your turn.
Well, I always read, they always have
They always have
one of the bullets.
the gathering thought,
gathering
yeah.
thought. And I always try to read that. It's just because it's usually a really excellent thought, and
It
it's
is.
I like to then see how it's gonna tie into the sermon and the music.
I like to see what the sermon may be about and this.
Who will be preaching?
Yeah, I do
It's
check
on my
that.
phone.
Yeah,
It's right there.
And that's interesting because I don't do it at home, but I do that when I get into there. But I'm gonna be honest, I have looked at the bulletin before. How much white space is there so I can write a list on it for what I have to do? That's terrible, but I'm being honest. Do not share that. But I love the gathering thought. Actually, I have cut some of them out because I wanted to keep them so that I can see them. It's very good. And I often wonder why that's not on the vision, is not a visual piece in the community sanctuary. I've often wondered, but
I also think, so many people here have so much to do.
right.
I do not at this point in my life, but I remember that. And I always think we miss the opportunity sometimes to have a joyful worship because I've done it too. You're writing notes about what you have to do now and that. Oh, and I have a meeting Tuesday night. We have to discuss this and am I ready for this? And I think the volunteers in church would have a lot of responsibility, don't get a chance to always immerse themselves into the worship.
I'll be very honest, I never thought to go online and do it. I mean, I could do it right from my phone and see on Facebook when I'm drinking coffee. Never even occurred to me.
I found it to be the complete opposite is because I do have so much going on. Like Sunday is my day to start with the bulletin. Nothing else is really something you need to focus on right now. Like I have this time to worry about this. And then everything after. Well, yeah, I don't have kids yet.
Yes.
I just have like the 12 that show up
Here's
at school.
No, thank you for sharing. I mean, here's two perspectives. Somebody starting a job, somebody retired. You know, that's two different perspectives. Yeah.
I'm trying to retire.
That's
not working.
How about, all right, anybody else have something different than what we already heard to add to this, how you prepare to come to church?
We were talking about, well, and if I can remove myself, because when I'm preparing to come to church, I am preparing to come to work. So it's, but if I can remove myself from that and come as just a worshiper, it's a whole different, I think when we're preparing to go to work, I think it's more stressful in the morning, right? And because you're getting up and you're getting ready and you're getting your kids ready, you're walking the dog, you're taking care of your pets, you're packing your lunch, you're doing all of these things before you get in the car. And so it's busy. But coming to worship, I feel like it's more preparing myself to be in a quiet, listening space so that when I come, I can sit and be prepared to receive whatever is coming in worship. And so it feels very different.
Yeah.
It goes from just this hurried, harried place to a calm place of listening and contemplative space.
And it's nice because you have a longer ride.
I do, so
A lot of times having a longer ride, like when I work, I kind of prepare myself going to work.
So I can separate myself from this before I get here.
Right. Thank you. So how do we receive the Bible stories? How is it given to us, the Bible stories? How are we getting it? In what form? You can look up here, that will help.
We were saying that if you're just looking at it as just the sermon is given to us auditory. But if we look at it as the entire in the entire service, it's more sensory because the music ties in and we're and maybe even a little kinesthetic because we're singing and we're standing and we're so.
Okay.
Depends on whether you're considering one part of the service or the service as a whole.
I wasn't necessarily considering it as a whole, but it is a whole. I should. And you do have the hymns. And you are standing up and sitting down, but that's not getting any information into me. For me at my age, it's actually a painful experience. But think about how many older folks are in the sanctuary and they stand up.
Scientifically, every 20 minutes you need to stand up because it'll circulate all your blood back up. Just take 20 seconds of standing.
It's true, you're good. Yeah, but no, you make a very good point. You really make a very good point.
The older I get, the more I'm glad, hear me, I'm not trying to be facetious, that I'm not in the Catholic tradition that not only we're sitting and standing, but we're kneeling.
You still get up?
From the kneeling.
Right.
Like, seriously.
It's hard. I mean, there's a lot. And the hymns, I know when I sing the hymns, I like the ones that I know because I understand them. When we sing other songs that maybe I've never heard before or I don't know, I'm so focused on the notes, I don't even know what words I've said. And one thing I've shared with Jill many a time, just the way some of the hymns are written, what it's saying, the language they use, I think, what does that mean? And there's no real time at the moment to try and make it apply to the sermon or the readings from the Bible. It's forgotten. When I'm singing it, it's with me, but then it's gone. Then it's gone. It's gone for me. This is all getting us somewhere, believe it or not. Who's there? Okay, Jackie, you get it. What are the opportunities for personal response to what you've heard or seen during the worship service? And I mean in the service.
A personal response within the service or outside of?
No, I meant during that. I mean, there's always time outside, but within the service. Is there anything that leads you to respond to that at the time? Like today, we turned and talked. Questions were asked.
Yeah, I mean, I would say almost every Sunday, for me, the response is a spiritual response. That if I can look at the cross and I can feel the presence of God and I can kind of sense the community around me, that's what I always hope to achieve within the service itself is some kind of spiritual connection.
Okay. All right. So this is what in teaching we would call formative assessment. You know what you think now. So the next piece will actually be, believe it or not, you know what you think right now. Okay, personally, we're going to think about this in light of the children and in light of the curriculum. And the first thing I want to do is give you a blank bulletin. Believe it or not, it's blank. It's got the pieces that are there all the time there, but you will see the head. Okay. And here's what I want you to do with them. If you hand these out, I will explain to them what I want them to do. I want you to consider the different parts of the service or components of the service. And let me give you this before.
Yeah, let me show Kathy what we're looking at.
Oh, yeah.
And which one am I going to? This one.
No, you can do this with partners. I think two heads. Okay.
So it's literally like a blank
It's
bulletin,
just a blank bulletin.
right?
It doesn't have the hymns in it. It doesn't have the scriptures in it. But what I would like you to do, ultimately, I want us to think about the flow of the service. And then we will look at the two curriculums and see how it flows. And does our curriculum have all the components that we have in worship service? All right, she good?
I'm good. Just keep going.
Oh, okay. All right.
Oh.
So I'm not going to explain these different parts, but I would like you, wherever you think you are gathering and welcome, I want you to put an A next to it. I just want you to look for these different components in the service and label them. Because we'll talk a little bit about flow, like what you did first, second, and third, and did it matter? Yeah, draw right on it, you know what I mean?
No.
All right,
You
so
want us to do like A is right there and B is right wherever and C.
wherever, like, the components would be prelude, welcome, minute for mission. Or each, decide what they are. Is it gathering and welcoming? Is it giving thanks and praise?
Okay.
Is it going out into the world? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Anybody else? Does that make sense? Yeah, all right. So like, really, if you're looking for gap and praise, so you look at this, this helps you. And see if you're welcome.
No, I
Oh,
can't.
it's a readers is
Just doing it.
No, in terms of the service, this is our service.
Oh, I thought you were talking about how you heard.
No, we're not there yet. No, this is just how it's, so you're just looking for where the different parts are. Like, you'll see, giving thanks and praise, everybody.
You talked a
So
little
it's
bit
in
about
different
that in
places.
the beginning.
Yes.
I came in and how this.
So, does that make sense?
Does it have to be an outside board?
No, absolutely not. Yes. Oh, yeah, the components, you'll have multiple, like, you know, either A, gathering and welcome. We have greeters at the front door.
They're all of
That's
these.
not even on the bulletin, but you can see it in the back.
You
You know, you can see
But our experience.
Yeah, we have greeters and welcome.
I promise.
Oh, no, we're not worried. No, that's right now.
How are we supposed to go out until?
Do you know what else isn't there? The baptism and communion is not there, but that's okay. We're just doing a general, everyday, regular old service. You do not feel anxious. I'm not gonna look at your answer. I don't even have an answer key.
Oh my God, I'm annotating It's gonna affect my GPA.
Exactly, that part.
No, I was seeing it, I was looking over your shoulder, I guess. I just gave you my own.
This one's really fun. I enjoyed this part.
Go roll. It's mine.
See.
This is fun.
It's not a test. It's not a test. I'm not even going to collect it. You have to go home.
Yeah, hey, for what we're going for is.
Well, I already told them what we're going for. You can tell her.
Okay.
Oh, look, she might be one of those kids in the class. I didn't know her name on the first day.
Yeah, but she's always the one who reminds you that you assigned homework. I would know, I was that.
I was a rule follower, I definitely was. So we're looking at worship and the components of worship, and we're gonna see how what we do with the kids echoes that.
That's the word I should have used. Yeah.
Intentional echoes.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
but we have to see what worship looks like first.
Right. You're so good at explaining things to the point. I love it. I love it. What's the matter? What? Very stressed.
Oh, don't stress over, don't stress.
Jumping jacks. She'll feel better.
That's okay.
I'll get it when they.
That's right.
We hear everybody.
So was I, Lordy.
There might be some things that are more than one letter.
Oh, yeah, we said that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, some things are more than one letter, some letters are gonna find way more than once. Okay, you were trying to help Kathy.
And it's also, doesn't need to be in order, maybe this corner is interesting.
Right. And we definitely see that more in the contemporary.
Yeah, we don't have that. I wish I'd had that. I should have, yeah. But that's not,
In the basic, yeah, but it's just structured a little
yeah,
different.
yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Something like,
My dad was just so
praise.
crazy.
To me, I would say that's part of the seeing, hearing.
I was looking at that, but I'm having trouble placing, I guess because.
Yes.
And maybe experiencing.
God more than God's.
Okay, God's. Yeah.
Kind of
I understand what you're
presence
saying.
of God is what,
Yeah.
that's what I would.
Correct.
That's what I would say.
The stories threw me off to the sermon.
I should have said sermon, but that's usually,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it is a story of some sort, but I guess I could have called it sermon.
A lot of time it does follow your service. That's cute.
Another minute. We won't belabor this.
Ooh, Kathy said it's getting, yeah.
You didn't use which one? E?
Yeah, I did. I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'd like to. I'd like to be.
We have these.
I'd like to be
Good enough.
Okay, so before I ask this the question that's up there, what surprised you or stood out to you, or what aha moments did you have as you were doing this? What were your thoughts, other than being nervous? What conversations did you have with the people sitting around you? What is it you talked about?
It's not, the order flow isn't as straightforward as what you wrote here, that it jumps around.
Jumps around, okay. Were all the components there? They were, okay.
Some more than others.
Some more than others, okay. What component do you think was there more than any other? I mean, was there anything that you seemed to use a lot? B, preparation of hearts and minds?
No.
Oh, E?
Giving thanks and praise.
Yeah, giving thanks and praise, yeah. Oh, B is a point.
Okay, gotcha.
I thought myself there was a lot of preparation time. I put a lot of preparation time in the beginning. At least that's how it feels to me, like I'm being prepared to hear the story. Or the sermon, I should have called it.
But when you think of the time schedule in the service, the sermon is usually, it should be, the law, the main thing is the
Right.
sermon. And, but then all these, and B, it's equivalent to that, only it's broken up in different ways.
Broken up in different ways.
To hit different people in different
Mm-hmm. So do you think the service order that we as adults experience in the sanctuary makes sense?
I think it makes sense to me because I've done it so long, but if I was, then it just, not just picking on you, but she's a young person. Her husband has worshiped here a long time, but you haven't. And to come in and see all these things for a visitor to come in and see all this and go, oh, wow, or yeah, that's great. That's what I'm familiar with.
Right,
So
right. It's kind of like what I experienced as a child growing up. I think it was the same, the same thing.
Service, and I think there's that desire a traditional service, which is what I desire, and a lot of churches aren't doing it anymore. There's not a lot of churches with traditional service.
But
It's important to me.
It's important to me, it's not even, it's irrelevant why it's important to me. But I think even if we looked at contemporary, the pieces would be there. They just wouldn't look like they look in our
That's
service.
very possible.
Okay.
Suzanne, it's interesting, and I don't tell back a story, but when I
Okay.
was giving tours for preschool,
Uh-huh.
and people would want to know about the church, they
Mhm.
specifically wanted to know about these cards. They wanted to,
Oh.
I don't want to go to a contemporary summer. Tell me about your service.
Oh, interesting.
And when I would show them a bulletin or anything, and it was young people.
That's interesting.
It was, and it's because it's what they remember.
It's what they remember.
Mhm.
Right, right, right. When under part C, seeing, hearing, experience God's stories, did you notice that anywhere? Did you put like a C1 somewhere or a C2 somewhere? What did you do?
C1, I put thought children.
Okay.
C2, I put it anywhere there was music. And then experiencing God's story, I put it in the sermon.
Yeah. How are you experiencing it?
You're seeing.
The sermon,
Mm-hmm.
just allowing myself, like opening myself up to be in the story and just listen.
So it was in your imagination, your experience was in your imagination.
Yeah, and when Rachel and I did the 100 questions, how to receive the Bible stories,
Mm-hmm.
sermons that link the Bible story to today through whoever's preaching, saying something within their life that shows you sort of what the sermon's saying, that's how to experience it.
Okay, so your experience is, having it linked for you to today and in your imagination. How are you receiving all of this information about the stories or the sermon? How do we get it? Do we get it? We hear it.
Yeah. The auditory, is that what you're
It's auditory, yeah, that's where I'm going. And what I want you to think about, and just for 1 minute, imagine you've got this new child and you're bringing them into an hour service. All these pieces are there, and how your experience in your years, you can relate to what's happening. What are some of the barriers for children to all of this? What?
Literacy.
Tell me why.
The K1 kids can't read the words on the screen.
Mhm.
Like they could probably read the words individually on their own and they've heard them before.
If they're free?
Some of our K1 kids
She doesn't have
can.
kids yet. No, not 3-year-olds, no. Yeah. A first grader maybe,
The
yeah.
3-year-olds, but like
Yeah.
they've heard those words before and they would recognize them if you told them what it said. But when they're hearing the same word in different songs in different ways, and they see all these people behind them singing them, especially like communion, we have kids that are like super involved, super excited, super bouncy in the classroom, and then we go upstairs for communion and they're like glued to me, and I'm like,
Sure.
okay,
They're
it's
afraid.
fine, and they're terrified because all of these people know all of these words
Right.
and all of these songs,
Right.
and they can't connect that like the words are right there. And
The vocabulary
they've seen
is
it
a barrier.
Yes.
Absolutely, it's a barrier. And even for a lot of young children,
But even for adults.
even for adults, you know what? Honest to Pete, I write it down, you know, the white space, I have put words there that I've heard in a sermon, or even some that, when they're reading the scripture, to remind myself so I can look it up.
I mean, I think about people who have not really been churched,
Yeah.
coming into a church service,
Mhm.
it's like,
That's a good
it
point.
would be like Greek.
That's a good point.
It's like a foreign language, and I especially took that because that's what you deal with, kids that don't speak the language. It is very, very hard. They really don't. So it's really kind of lost on them, because a lot of it is we're reading or we're listening. So it's really lost. But on the other hand, we want them to experience God, to learn about God. We want them to have this experience. We want them to be in worship with us, but you kind of have to do it slowly in the beginning. And so the curriculums that we have, this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to let children learn about God as they experience God. And I want to show you how the two curriculums actually let kids go through the components of this worship service, but at their level. That's what we're really doing. So if we look at the bulletin, and I'm just going to start this, look at the bulletin, and the kids stay with, and this is where we're going to get on all this other stuff. How far do the children go in the service? How far do they go in the service? Up until the thought for the children. All right, so they've been greeted at the door, but how many greeters bend down and shake the hands of the children? Good point. Seriously, they don't. Wouldn't it be fun to have some of our bigger kids greet the little kids coming in? Okay. I never read any of the books to my children. They sat there with me, is what they did. But you will find our curriculums, even though they're here, we go through, I'll call it kind of a ritual, but I don't know that that's true. Welcome. When they leave the service at Thoughts with Children, I'm sure you've all seen it, the teachers are out in the narthex, and they'll have new signs this year. But they greet the children. They greet them by name. They say, "I'm happy to see you," or the children feel welcome. That may be the first time they feel welcome, and they've been in the service up until maybe they've been in church 25 or 30 minutes. All right, so we do that. And then what will happen is out in that narthex, they go with the teacher of their grade level, and that teacher takes a head count, sometimes actually take attendance. With the K1, we usually take attendance when we get down there, but we're very, very in touch with how many children we have, because we don't want to lose anyone.
Count heads.
Count heads all the time. And then we take them down to the classroom, and the classrooms are set up like a sacred space, like a worship space. You've all seen them. What's in the worship space that you also see in the church? What are in the classrooms for the kids?
Sort of like an altar. I mean,
An altar, okay, yeah. A cross, a light, maybe some colors. It's peaceful, they would have that classroom, but before that, the K1 and the preschool are going to go to the chapel. And we will hear the story there using young children in worship. Grades 2 to 5 will go to the classrooms with Kathy and Jane and Diane. And who else works with the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or 5th? Great. Okay.
But actually, we go down for the story first.
Oh, that's true. I'm sorry. We go to the center there, but even at that, how does Kathy usually start that story? How does she start it that echoes what happens in the service?
She welcomes them.
She does welcome them. She does. Very often she'll ring a song. She'll sing the song. Yep. Mm-hmm. She sings the song with the handhold. She rings the singing bowl. Yep. Just to calm them and transition them to we really are in a sacred place. It's not a playground. Even though it looks like a playground, it's not a playground. It's kind of hard to make that transition, but they do. So all of these components are down there when you look at young children and worship. And I think with yours, there's even some responses that you can do, like we do here. So it's really, we really try and echo that. So what we will do now, well, before I do that, what questions do you have, or what are you thinking about?
I know, Suzanne, you had said a particular classroom that you use, it's difficult.
The one I used, right, my classroom is difficult because it really is a preschool classroom, the K1. And I was in one classroom before where there wasn't a square inch of space that your eyes could rest.
Are you using that same room this year?
No, I used a room across the hall. And it made it a lot better because I got a table and we would set out, I had a tablecloth that meant something to me. It belonged to my aunt. All right, and all the stains I put underneath, but we had a little plate and a candle and prayer hands and a cross. We really made it a sacred space.
Are you using the same one as you did last year? Is what I asked. Change it.
Oh, okay. Well,
have you been into it?
No.
There's such a sensory overload in that room right now that I go in and I go,
oh, all right. Well,
check it out.
I'll
please.
check that. Thank you for
forwarding
You
you.
just moved us last year.
That's all right.
I'm
We'll
sorry,
figure
but
it out.
as a
No, better to
teacher,
know now
I-
than not. That's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is that back room, like 2 classrooms over, still empty? Is empty last
I don't know,
year?
but I don't wanna get off track here, but thank you.
Sorry, but.
No, that's good. That's good.
Did I miss something?
The room that she used last year, have you been in it since the girl came in and decorated?
I did.
It's sensory overload,
It is different than last year.
very, very, very.
And I had already told Brenda where you were before that we were going to be back in that room before she decorated. So Brenda has already done her thing. And the new girl has done her thing. And there's a lot. There's a lot. So we'll have to.
Well, you know what I would do? I would go back to that corner, and I'm sorry, but I think I have a suggestion for you.
Okay.
The third grade classroom, the one that's opposite Kathy's.
Yeah,
in the
I know
Because
exactly
it
what
has
you
a
mean.
bathroom.
It does.
It's not as big, and I don't know how many kids you have from kindergarten, first grade. That would depend, but that is,
All right.
it's a smaller room.
I'll
Anyway,
definitely put that on my
she
to-do
is
list.
more-
Yeah, we'd have to coordinate. Now, we did talk to that teacher last year and
Mhm.
she was amenable to us being in there, but she may have already has her cabinet set and all of that, so we would have to work it out.
In the one that I
Suzanne,
suggested.
just,
that corner
just
room.
one thing that we do for fourth and fifth grade is because we have already 2 transition times. Transitioning from leaving the sanctuary to coming downstairs and quiet. Then we've got to transition back upstairs or to the classroom. And kids get ready, running up and, so the first thing we do, they have to sit at the tables and we do breath prayer to just kind of,
That's
okay,
great.
let's chill.
Prayer,
let's-
yeah.
And then we might watch the video if we did. Before they can go, we have beanbag chairs. Before they can sit around the beanbag chairs, they have to kind of really settle down because that's another transition. And then getting them into the beanbag chairs, which is where we have a table with a candle. And we have that actually on the tables too, but we have a low table around the beanbag chairs with a candle and a cross and stuff. But so those being mindful of those transitions.
The transitions are hard, yeah, they are, but it's nice because there is music, there are the breath prayers, there's, everybody kind of has tricks up their sleeves, but keep in mind what happens in the service as we transition, like on Communion Sundays, that's a transition, even though we're not including that tonight. Baptism just means they're there a little longer, but they can see how they started out as babies, when they joined the church. So what I have for you,
Suzanne?
yes.
We're supposed to finish at 8 and we have a lot to cover yet.
I didn't realize, I was thinking, you're right. All right, so listen, just real fast, I think it is, yeah, dismissal, only hand children off to an adult, not an older brother or sister, only an adult. Attendance, classroom, scopes and sequences. Well, we do have scopes and sequence, we will send it to you electronically.
Yeah, let me show you, I thought I made copies, apparently I didn't.
Why didn't you stop me sooner?
You were on a roll.
You've been doing good.
All right. So I'm working on this scope and sequence that includes both of them. So on this side, we have Kids Connect, the Growing in Grace and Gratitude, and the We Connect and Young Children Worship are over here. I have yet to add the stories are here, but I need to add the scripture. And then Suzanne has, I don't know if that's something, no, they're not.
What?
The goals and the wondering
I had
question.
one copy of it, and
Okay.
I was gonna give it to Jane.
So what we're gonna do is add for each one, the overall goal of what we're trying to do and an overall wondering question. Now, the kids will get wondering questions throughout their time that they get to, but we're looking for an overall wondering question that parents then can pick up on and maybe use at home, right? To follow through at home. So they're going to be added to this. If you notice my colors again, these colors go with our lectionary, right? So these are the liturgical colors that throughout the liturgical, I didn't bring my my calendar thing that we use for young children in worship. I forgot to bring that in. So green for ordinary time. purple for Advent. The gray is just, all it does is separate the months. White for Christmas, Epiphany, then we get back into ordinary time. And then we go back to purple for Lent. And then the season of Easter and after Easter, and then Pentecost. So if you use that in your classroom, we use that for young children in worship regularly. We have our own little table that we use and a calendar, which looks like a clock. But we talk about where we are in the liturgical calendar and what color we are, what color the cloth is, what that means. And do they remember what the color was in the sanctuary? Because it matches, right? So we talk about that. I encourage the classrooms, the Kids Connect classrooms, to do the same. So when this is a finished document, you will all get that. But I wanted to make sure, like here, I've got the story and the text. I didn't add the text yet to those. And we'll add the goals and the wondering questions.
We tried to match up the Bible story as best that could be done. The young children in worship tend to get the story 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, sometimes
Some of the stories. So there is some similarity, whereas in the past it's been totally different.
Yeah, we try to. And there just aren't the number of stories in young children in worship. And honestly, some of the stories are not only, I mean, they're difficult for children, but they're really difficult for littles.
Yeah.
So we often don't use those stories in young children in worship. But kind of quickly here, the overview. Kathy, I don't know if you want to, I can just do this if you're not.
That would be good.
Okay. Happy to. I'm happy to.
When I talk, I cough.
That's okay. That's all right. Oh, just rest. Just rest. So Kids Connect and We Connect at 9:30. Young Children in Worship is at 11. We Connect and Young Children in Worship follow the same model. Mm-hmm. Camp Spark in the summer. Who had a connection with Camp Spark? Becky, you were here. And Danica, that's right, you were here. Mm-hmm. Jackie wasn't here, but helped us with the preschool stuff. It was a fantastic week. It was exhausting and a fantastic week. Excited to do it again. So, which we will do. That's on your brochure. Dates are already set. And we did Campfire and Community again this year. 4 summers in July, but as July goes, we actually ended up having 2 because people were traveling and just couldn't attend the other 2, which is fine. We try. Also in your brochures, intergenerational events that we do: Family Advent Night, Fall Fest, Vespers. If you haven't been to a Vespers yet, I encourage you to come. They're really neat. It is a shortened worship service, but it's very kid and family friendly, very interactive. Working with John, I think John does a great job. And which one? So September we start. We're going to have a hike in Stroud Preserve. And then the next one in October is the Blessing of the Animals, which is always fun. So those dates are in here. Family Christmas Eve service, 10 o'clock is the family one. An MLK Day of Service. We typically, from 9 to 11 or 11:30, we come in and we make lunches and pack those lunches, and they go off to sometimes Safe Harbor, but almost always the Vine Ministry. So they go and immediately that day feed hungry folks. So it's pretty cool. Milestone Ministries, we call these. So we have a baptism class for those families that want to baptize their kiddos, and that's usually, oh my gosh, is it the 3rd? 4th? Thank you. Thank you. That the class is last Sunday of the month. Yep. Is when the class is, and then baptisms are usually the 2nd baptism, or second Sunday of the month. Communion workshop, we hold for typically grades 2 to 5 and their families. They learn in Spelman, there's different stations from baking bread to drama to learning what it means to prepare our our communion. So they get to fill the little cups and the big cups, and they learn about intinction and passing the plates, and even the little the little cups that we use for over COVID that we still have. So they learn about all of the elements of the Lord's Supper and how we do it here at Westminster. Third grade Bible workshop in October. So that's for third graders and a family member, an adult, a parent or guardian. They learn about what the Bible is, what the Bible isn't, how the Bible came to be, their Bible, which has lots of special tools in it so that they learn how to use it and where to find things and what things mean. And then they also spend time with their grown-up choosing a special verse that is meaningful for them that will be inscribed in the inside cover of their Bible. And they will get those Bibles on Reformation Sunday, which is the last Sunday in October. Before we go on, this is red because it's important stuff. But I won't take time because it's already 8 o'clock to do it now. But if you would like either to serve in planning any of those things or would just like information about what that would mean to help with that, there's sign-up sheets in the back. I encourage you to take a look at those before you leave. We'd love all the help that we can get. This team does a lot of hard work, and I'm sure they could love some help. Do you want me to do this part?
Yeah, I think you're a little more familiar with how
Okay.
helping people to get through
All
that.
right. We'll have time for that. So you probably already know by now we had to have clearances, and you probably have all done them. 3 clearances: child abuse, the FBI fingerprinting, or if you've lived in Pennsylvania for at least 10 consecutive years, you can do the residency waiver. If not, you have to go through the fingerprinting. What's not on there is the criminal. Oh, yes, it is. The criminal history is first. Criminal history. They are all good now for 5 years. I don't know if you remember when this whole thing started in 2015. They were good for different amounts of time. And so it was just impossible to keep up with. So now they're all 5 years. Mandated reporters. Okay, so here's the thing. Working with children, minors of any age, even volunteers, you are a mandated reporter. Here's the weird thing. Volunteers are not required by law to go through the mandated reporter training. I would still encourage you to do so. You can do it online, reportabusep.pitt.edu. It is cumulative, meaning it is a 3-hour process, which deters a lot of people, and I get that. But you can do a little bit, and it'll save. And you can go back later, do another half hour later, and it'll save until you're done. It's really valuable because it does work you through not only what does abuse maybe look like, and it's different kinds of abuse and neglect, right? So there's physical abuse, there's emotional abuse, there's sexual abuse, and there's neglect. So it walks you through that, and it gives you scenarios of, what might be something you would encounter, and how do I react to that? What do I do? When do I call child services? When do I call the police? So it is really helpful. I don't know if we have time to do this real quick or not. We have.
Maybe you just pick one, just you model it.
Oh, we played this yesterday.
Did it? Yes, yes. So, okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. Let's
It gets
do,
really out of
all
hand.
right, let's do your group, whatever group you did before. Let's do that.
Oh, man, I got this card yesterday.
Did you?
Yeah.
Do you want to trade so you have a different one?
No.
Okay.
Sure doesn't have to.
Okay.
Yes.
You have to, all right, you'll tell them what to do. right?
Yeah, okay, so let me. Kathy, these are cards, it's actually done in a way of kind of like a card game. And they all have different little scenarios on them. So when you look at your scenario, we all start at the do nothing space, right? So you look at your card, read your scenario, and decide, what do I do next? Do I move to more observing? Do I try to find out more? And we're going to talk about that. And now this game was done in the UK, right? So they have different language than we do. Do we talk to a safeguarding lead? So do you talk to someone who's next in the chain of command? Or do you call? There are some differences in this and what we have to do in PA. So read your card, your red card. And what would you do? So this group,
Read it out
what
loud.
do you have? Yeah,
Read it
read it
out
out
loud,
loud.
real
What do you have and what would you do?
They have poor appearance and or hygiene.
Okay. What would you do in that case? You're right now you're doing nothing. Do you continue to do nothing? What do you do?
I can tell you what I wouldn't do. That is not for reporting anything. You do all the observation and I can't read all the things.
Find out a little more, find out more,
Find out a little
talk to
bit
somebody
more
else.
about it, talk to, if it's a child that had been here, and that's a whole other thing. If the child has only come in one time and you see him that one time and it's really gross negligence, then probably should be reported. But if you're seeing this over a period of time, that's September, October, and it's getting worse, or it's changed all of a sudden, then I would talk to you, supervisor. It's, you gotta be, to jump and report right away can be very dangerous.
And that's the thing, you have to weigh. I'll premise that in a second, but you don't want to jump to conclusions, but you also want to do the right thing at the right time, right? Because if you report something, now reporting something doesn't necessarily mean somebody's going to get in trouble, but it will start a process. And that family will have to go through a process of being interviewed and interrogated, whatever, by professional folks. So that's something to keep in mind. Let me give you.
Caesar is documenting it, because you think you remember things, but you don't.
And we have a way of doing that. I'm going to give you this find out more card. I don't know what's on the other side, but does whatever's on the other side, does that change anything for you?
Not really. It just says their best friend just moved away.
Okay.
That
So not really. So not really.
No.
What do you all have?
They complain of sexually relevant physical symptoms.
Okay.
In the K1 context, I'm immediately reporting that.
You are calling that. Now, here's how that works in PA, and here's how that works here. In your red folders, every classroom has this emergency red folder by the door in a wall pocket. It has multiple use. Inside, one of the things is an incident report form, right? So this incident report form is really for anything. It's for this, and I'm going to make this call, but I'm going to document everything as soon as possible, because even tomorrow I'm going to forget a detail. It's also for, I think at Camp Spark maybe, or maybe it was one of your kiddos. We had just a boo-boo, but it was enough that we thought, well, if he needs to go to the
Exactly,
doctor,
exactly, yeah.
we want to document that that has happened here. So it's really for any incident worth us remembering or needing to refer to. So that's in there. The other thing that's on here is the child hotline number, right? So that's always there. Always on the inside of that. There's more to this that we'll talk about in a minute, but
Jill, you should still know about that when you, if you're calling hotline.
yes,
You really need.
yes. So here's the thing, thank you. Here's the thing. You really should call first. And it's because of the whole Jerry Sandusky thing that that is put into place. Because what happened there is it supposedly went up the chain of command and nothing was done from there. So now the law says there's no chain of command before you make that call. All right? Here's the thing. If you are like, oh my gosh, I don't want to make this call by myself. Come get me. I will make it with you. You as the person that witnessed this has to make the call. I am happy to be there next to you doing that. But you can't wait for me, right? If I'm somewhere else in the building or whatever, you need to make it first. And if I can't be there, let me know immediately after. And when we get into like finding out more, you're going to report right away, so I don't need to give you, what is yours?
They have bruises in uncommon places.
Okay, let's see, here, pick a find out more card, see? What is it, does that?
They are an introvert.
Okay, that doesn't necessarily sway you one way or another, but what do you think you would do? So these bruises are on, let's say, the middle of their back. Okay, it's not a place that they're gonna fall and get bruises this way. It's in the middle of their back. Maybe it's back here.
I wouldn't jump to any conclusions because they're little and they throw themselves around.
Okay,
And,
okay,
but I would watch.
yep,
And for, if it happened regularly, then I would become more concerned, but
yeah.
if it's.
Here's also the tricky part. We see them for 1 hour a week. Right? We're not like a school teacher that's seeing them every day, all day long. So it's different for us. It's going to be harder for us to determine, but I would see also if there's any other clues, anything else in their behavior or, maybe what they're wearing, are they not being taken care of, that kind of thing. The one thing we want to be careful of with the finding out more is asking the parent more information, or even prying too much from the children. We shouldn't actually be doing that. We can ask general questions of the class. How was your weekend? And if they offer something, but the more you ask kids questions, the more you're going to put in their mind and potentially confuse them. We also don't want to ask too much of the parents because the parents may be the culprit, right? So you have to weigh that. And if there's any question, come talk to us and the parents, and we'll figure out what to do together. But it is tricky seeing kids only once a week at best. Yes, yeah, regular attendance is really maybe 2 times a month these days. So it's harder to get a good grasp on our kids. And how about you guys? What do you guys have?
They had untreated medical and dental problems.
Okay.
Samuel snagged the card.
Oh, he's good. Okay, good. He wants to read that. That's good.
He took it.
That's good. That's good. Okay. So untreated, and so let's give you one of these. Just any of these. Pick one, anyone. See if that.
They just moved schools.
They just
moved.
Just move schools. It could have a bearing on it. But maybe not. I think I would observe and see how long those things go untreated, and if something that really needs to be treated, I would actually call child services, because it's not necessarily a matter of them getting in trouble, but they could get services that they need through that phone call. Yeah.
Especially with my line of work.
Yes.
Very.
Mary is a
paralegal.
Paralegal, I couldn't think of it.
Victims unit in Delaware County.
Yeah.
And I deal a lot with kids in a majority
Terrible
of these
situations.
situations, so.
Yes.
Very
Yes.
interesting to.
Diane, what do you have?
They're always hungry.
Does any of, just pick a card in, card. Oops, you got two?
They have just been sent to live with a distant relative.
It could have a bearing.
So it could be a grandmother that maybe is on a limited financial situation. It could be that there's not enough food. There could be, except for the fact that I don't know that would appear in 1 hour of Sunday school because they don't eat. I mean, if they started to say, gee, I'm hungry, I didn't have breakfast today, that's different.
Yeah,
And
or I haven't eaten since.
yeah, well, and you know, because they make up, the problem is the little kids, like,
Right.
they're gonna make up stories and exaggerate, we know that. I would talk to you first, and then however you go about finding out information, because you're not gonna see that unless the child just keeps saying, I didn't have breakfast again today. It's
Yeah.
it's gonna be, that would be difficult to
would.
determine whether it was actually happening.
Yeah. And in that case, unless the child looked really emaciated and just health is declining, that kind of thing, I would probably, with you, go to the pastor to see if the pastors know anything that we don't know. You know,
Or that maybe they need help with food.
Right, right, yeah, and the deacons and our freezer and all of our casseroles could help them and potentially get them more assistance that they need. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Can I just, I know we're running to, but I'd
Yeah,
like to
that's okay.
share this story about, there was, this has happened at Willowdale Chapel in their childcare. This little child was adopted and came with some bruises on her back for this one time. And it was just the first time that I guess the care worker had lifted it and they reported. And as it turned out, that child came from a culture where they were birthmarks on her, and it was reported, and that child was taken from that family. So that's why I said you just have to be so careful with this.
Yeah, yeah.
Learn the whole picture is what you're saying for any of these things.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, also if you have just a gut feeling that something's not right, let's talk about it. Maybe it's worth, because what they tell you is in the training is don't you try to do the investigating. You make the call and let the professionals decide that. The downside of that is now we have an investigation in a family. I have my own quick story, thankfully wasn't investigated, but my now 21-year-old, when he was in 8th grade, he came home one day and said, Mom, I had to go to the counselor today. And he was really, when he was in the counselor's office, he just broke down and sobbed because he thought we were going to get in trouble. Here, a teacher had noticed Jake played football and he was a lineman, right? And so the front of him just got beat up. It's just covered with bruises, especially his legs. So a teacher noticed that, went to the counselor. Counselor called Jake in. Now, technically, they probably should have just made the call, but they didn't. So Jake came home and told me, and I said, well, I'm gonna call the counselor and And he's like, middle school, don't you dare. And I said, look, I'm not gonna like ream anybody out. Like, I want them to know that you and I have such a relationship that you're telling me all that this is going on, that I know that's what's happening. And let me just make that connection with the counselor. So she's like, Mrs. Riker, we haven't called anybody, and don't worry. And we believe that it's, legitimate, and we know that he plays football and all of this stuff. So I thought, oh, dear God, here we go. So here I am, the director of Christian education at a church. Investigated.
That was the 6 o'clock news.
Great day, right? Headlines, nice. But they probably should have. Technically, they should have made that phone call if they really thought.
A lot of schools now, especially at the middle school and high school level, if you're involved in a sport, they register it as an extra class on your schedule specifically for that reason, especially for like kids who play football when they come in with bruises. Like, I have track kids that like roll out their muscles and get the cupping and stuff done. So the one girl had like a giant black shoulder, and I was like, what's that about? And I went and looked, and she's in the track and field team. So I was like, okay.
Yeah. So thankfully they didn't, but here we go.
Yeah.
Jane, do you want to do that really quickly, or you can't?
No, just go ahead.
Just go. Okay. So there's more to this safe church policy, but really the main things we want to know is we have to have 2 cleared adults in the classroom at all times, right? Youth helpers, love our youth helpers. They're not adults. They too are minors in your room with you, okay? So they don't count as a cleared adult. Married couples don't count as 2 adults. They count as 1 adult. Sorry, Kemper. Does anybody know why?
I do now.
What was that?
I didn't even raise my hand. Because you can't testify against
your spouse in a court of law. That's right. Yeah. Did you want to testify?
No, that's so interesting. Like, I mean, obviously.
You can testify. You can't be made. You don't have to. Yes, that's right. I did ask about like moms and daughters, or that you're still 2 adults. You're still 2 separate adults. It's just spouses.
You can testify against your kids, but not your husband?
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Bathrooms. So never, ever go into a bathroom, I'm going to qualify that, with a child. And what we really tried to do at Camp Spark preschool is get a little bit different, because they need help sometimes. We would open and check the bathroom first. Then we'd let the kid go in. We want to make sure nobody's in there waiting for them, right? So we go in and check. It's hard. It's just hard to do, because you also don't want to let the kid just wander by themselves, right? So what we try to do is have, if possible, have somebody in the hallway, right? So you have to have 1 adult stay in the classroom. If it's possible to have that second adult stay where they can have eyes on both, right? Right? I know.
Kathy, that'd be a little hard.
I know. It's hard, right? Yes. For the girls' room, that would be the boys' room, right? And so I get it. It's a little tough, but we do the best we can. If you have a preschooler and if you have a bathroom in your room, that's a lot easier, right? So you can stand in the gap, if you will, and help them if needed, because it's a single stall, right? And still be visible from the other adult, what you're doing, and you can still see what's happening in there. It does get tricky downstairs when you have to go to a separate bathroom if you don't have it. I know it is what it is. Jackie tried to get bathrooms in every single classroom downstairs, and they just didn't go for it. So now we have to just do the best you can to make sure other adults know what you're doing and everyone's protected, including yourself, right? Yeah.
I mean, the 4th and 5th graders, we've always let them go to the bathroom themselves without going to check that nobody else is in that bathroom.
Yeah.
So you're saying we really should go and check the bathroom and not let them go in if another person's in there.
Yeah.
Well, then they could just go, say they're on the bathroom and they could go wherever in this church.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean,
And they will.
well, we're pretty good about making sure they're back within a couple minutes, but.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, because I've only been working with the little kiddos and I don't think we've ever had that come up. Do they decide that they need to go to the bathroom during class? Not that they really have to, but they just want out. Okay, that's probably what I thought.
And don't send them together.
Oh, no, never. I never got together. And it depends on what time is their class. You know, I mean.
The hard part too is, I know moms like to take boys into the women's room, but you don't want a little boy going into the women's room by himself. He needs to go to the boys' room.
Right.
And the same vice versa. I've seen little girls sitting in the urinal.
Oh.
Yeah.
Blah. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I've seen it all.
I think urinals are so gross anyway.
I mean, my guess is most parents of 4th and 5th graders, if the kid says, I gotta go to the bathroom, Mom, they're gonna let them go. They're not gonna go check the bathroom out and make sure nobody else is in there.
Yeah. But the thing that we have to remember is, like, that's on the parent. When they are under our responsibility, we have to do everything that we can to make sure that they are the safest we can make them. I know that that's a pain. So if they can hold it, have them hold it until Mom picks them up.
Boys are a little easier because they're right across the hall.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are really, you know.
Girls doing that.
Yeah. And maybe you let the girls, if you're checking it anyway, maybe you let the girls go in the men's room, let them go. And make sure nobody else
They
is
would be
going
creeped
in.
out by that.
They probably would.
I don't want any questions.
And I understand that. By the same token, Terry Hawkins has been cleaning, and she is a cleaning machine. I'm telling you, she's good.
But you don't want a man walking in on a little, especially if you're not standing out there.
Well,
Right.
well, you would have to, you would have to be.
You'd have to be, yeah.
Are we supposed to then stand and wait till they're finished? Yeah, that's gonna
be.
It is hard to say hold it.
It is, just hold it.
You only have
Just
10 more
hold it.
minutes.
That's right, you can hold it. Let's see, real quick, attendance, we talked about counting heads, always count your heads. And attendance, make sure you're taking, particularly because, I mean, we try to keep track of that, but it's gonna be really important if we have to evacuate. You want to know who you have and should have. Name tags, even for purposes of being able to call a child their name, that's important, right? If you can't make it to church, rosters. Do they have these yet?
No.
Okay, so rosters meaning the teacher leader rosters. So here's what it looks like so far. Here's all the people that we have from nursery all the way through. There might be, as kids, we're finding more family members this year, which I'm so excited about, are offering to help at least from time to time in the classroom as they register their kids. So that roster may change. But if you should find yourself, a lot of you, if not all of you, maybe have my cell phone, which is great. But if you're not in my classroom, then I have to contact your coordinator anyway. So if you could contact your coordinator, if you're supposed to be there in the morning, you just wake up just sick as a dog. There's no way I can do it. I encourage you to either see if you can get somebody from your team, or at the very least contact your coordinator so that way you can figure it out, essentially. And we've always been able to figure it out. Make sure your info on there is correct, because it's not helpful if it's not. Just a note on those that are in yellow, that they're not all current. Anybody that's in yellow is marked yellow because there's clearances that we still need from them. And I'll preface that by saying there's been some updated since we printed that. So, but that's what the yellow means. Evacuation, fire, okay, so, oh gosh, let's do the really important things real fast.
I know, it's so hard.
Okay, so let's see. In here is emergency information. Here's a sample of your evacuate. There should be one of these that looks different for every room. That's your evacuation route, if you will. So make sure you know that. If we have to evacuate in an emergency situation, I understand it's going to be chaos. If you remember to bring your attendance sheet, these would also be helpful. If you can't, you can't. The purpose of these are, so when we evacuate, you go to your evacuation rooms, we meet in the outdoor chapel. That's where we will go together. If you have these, it would be easy for us and the EMS folks to be able to see, okay, so grades 2 and 3, they're good. They have everybody they're supposed to have. Grades 4 and 5, somebody went to the bathroom and I don't know where they are. We're missing somebody. Come talk to me immediately. All right, so that's just a quick visual. And so if you can grab it, it would save seconds, right? There are, I didn't bring them, but in every classroom, I hope that they're still there. I'll check, but there should be a hammer that breaks glass, one of those like windshield hammer kind of things, and a red emergency blanket. All right, that's for if there's a fire and you can't get out of your classroom. It's to break the window and get out of the window. The blanket is intentionally red, as you can imagine why. You know, lay it over the shattered glass to get out. I preface that saying the 4th and 5th graders and anybody that's upstairs, we still don't have a great solution for getting out of the window. It's going to trustees, it's going to Jerry. Because the windows, actually these are a little bit wider. The windows are not wide enough.
And we're very high up.
And very high.
Yes.
So escape ladders don't fit in the narrow space. I'm trying, folks, I'm trying, I really am. So stay tuned for that.
You still have magnets on the doors, too?
Getting there. Sorry. Okay, real quick. So these are posted in every classroom at the moment. They work internally within the system. We are, as we speak, we're working on the offices, pastor's office, the main office, my office, got a new phone system, which is a great phone system, but it works on the internet and not the phone system. And so currently I can't, the purpose of this was a lot was to, if I knew upstairs that there was an intruder that came in, I could intercom all of you from my office and say, code yellow, use code yellow for intruder, code red for fire. I could tell you code yellow, and if I knew where that intruder approximately was, I could tell you, so you would have some idea, some guidance on where to go and where not to go. Currently, our new phone system does not work with the old phone system. So we were looking at the possibility of walkie-talkies, like going old school, but we now believe that they've told us that there's like a pager adapter or something that we're gonna have installed on our phones to allow us to do that. I could go to your classroom and do these, but from the new phone system, currently I cannot. Hopefully by the time we start, I can. So we have and these instructions are in should be by your phones in every classroom. So you could also dial 71, hear the dial tone, and then star 50 to get second floor and star 51 to get all of the first floor. And it'll go over the speaker system. Okay, so that's what that is. Should we need to lock down? Should you need to lock down in your classroom? There are procedures. I would encourage you to look at this red folder when you get a chance in every classroom. There are procedures for all of this, and what to do in the case of intruders. Sometimes you lock down, if you have the chance, because you have the distance from that intruder to run, you run. We've been talking about nursery too. In the event that you should need to lock down in your classroom, every door should have these, and we'll double check to make sure. I have plenty of these. These are you familiar with what these are and how they work? So they are, thankfully, our trim is metal. So they should all be now, your door knobs should be in the locked position, right? But if you put this over the latch hole, I don't know what that's called. Door jam. And
No, that's not right, no. Yeah.
Yeah, well, this is the door jam, that hole, whatever that hole is, you can put it over that, and you can open and close the door as you need to. If that intruder comes, you can easily whip this off, close the door, and it's locked, right? So that's an easy, super cheap way of dealing with that. What I want to do, most of you downstairs, because the preschool has, they might even be paper, but ways to close off your window. We need open windows to be able to see what's happening for safety reasons. At the same time, if an intruder comes in, we might not want them to know that we're in that. The ones downstairs, and I need to talk to Megan about this. The ones downstairs are just, teacher created them, and they completed them, paper. Problem with that is if they're lightweight paper, white paper, and we're here during the daytime and the sunshine is coming through, they're not going to hide everything. So I'm looking into getting black. I'm going to make sure Megan's okay with having black. Same kind of idea. It's just fabric.
Right.
And it sticks with Velcro, sticky-sided Velcro to the door, and you just unlatch a thing and it rolls down. But it's black, so you can't see in if you're outside. So I'm looking to do that so that we can block our windows when we need to. We don't normally want them that way, but that's all the fun things we have to think about. Block doors, okay. What else? Red folders, know your exits. We talked about intercom, evacuations. Are there any questions about evacuating, about any of this? Not any of this. It's late. I'm gonna get you home. I just want to honor your time and bedtimes and all of that. It's all important.
Evacuating the nursery.
Yes. So here's the procedure, because we have many conversations about nursery needs help evacuating. If they have 12 kids and even 6 or 7 of them are non-ambulatory kids, how are 2 or 3 adults going to evacuate them, right? So that was the question. The safety folks were like, oh, yeah, okay. So what will happen is, and there's a piece yet missing, but we purchased an evacuation crib for the nursery. And so an evacuation crib is a little bit sturdier. It has handles. It also has a stabilizing system with bigger wheels on the bottom. You can put 6 children. Believe it or not, you can put 6 children. It's not as big as a regular crib, but you can put 6 children in it and wheel them out. So that's gonna help.
And it goes out the door, you measure.
It does go out the door. We pushed it in, we pulled it out, we pushed it in, yep, so it fits. Cause that was gonna be the thing, we were gonna have to remove that shelf if it doesn't fit. I think the teachers would still like us to move that shelf, but. The other thing that's going to happen is ushers are going to be given the responsibility, are given now the responsibility. 2 of them will go to Hecker upstairs and canvass and make sure that everybody there is evacuated. 2 ushers will go immediately downstairs and check those rooms, but then go to the nursery and help them evacuate those children. The missing piece is, if it's a fire, I'm pretty sure those doors are gonna automatically close to the preschool. Do you know that for a fact? Because
The double doors, yeah, they will.
because they're on the magnets. So if they close, and for Kathy's purposes, and who's with Kathy? You were with Kathy and you were with Kathy. You're locked out of your evacuation route. And the ushers are locked out of coming to help you,
They
right?
don't know they have to come help, so.
Oh, they don't yet?
No. Just
Okay, well, we'll make sure that they know.
Oh, they do know, but it's unofficial.
Okay,
Only because I told
only because you told them, okay. And that's probably because the church, the official safety plan hasn't been approved. I'm telling you, that's what we're doing. What I want to do is have one of those fobs in Kathy's room taped to her. She has one of those wall pockets too, taped to that, so that any of you or the usher can just grab it and unlock that door to be able to get in. That's what I want to happen. It hasn't happened yet, but that's what I want to happen, because you need to be able to evacuate and you need to get in. Oh, that's a lot.
That's so much.
It's so much that we just threw, bombed it on you. Any other questions? We'll have those of you that are doing Young Children in Worship and We Connect, we'll have a very specific training about what that looks like, but we wanted to give you all the general overview of what it all looks like.
And I think the biggest concern is parents flying out of up here and going downstairs and wanting to, if we're evacuated outside.
Yeah.
They're gonna wanna see your child.
Yep, and I totally get that.
Yeah.
What I would really encourage you to do is have the parents stay with you. Like, I get it, I'm going to my child. I am going directly to my child. What we don't want to happen is having them then remove their child in the chaos, and now you don't know where he or she is. So I would encourage, Becky or Susan or whatever, just come with us. And they can also help, with corralling. But yeah, if we can prevent them, oh gosh, I get that. That goes against my very maternal nature. But prevent them from just taking in the chaos, and now you just don't.
You just stay there.
No,
That's what you just stay with us for a
Just
few
stay
minutes so
with
that we
us.
can account for everybody.
That's right.
And
then we can,
understand.
yeah. So, yeah, that could be tricky, because that's exactly what I would do.
And is the church, as they talked about any, I know when I was here, they were talking about practicing maybe during the service.
I don't think
They're-
so.
no.
I think they should. Yeah, we've done a fire drill once, and I think we should, but not the entire.
The kids did.
The kids did. I'm just not comfortable not doing one, because we did learn the 4th and 5th grade had to go down that back stairway, and it was clogged full of toys, the outside toys. So we learned that.
And parents are gonna wanna run down the stairs. They're not gonna meet you outside.
Right.
Run to the
They're
classroom.
gonna be down there for their kids.
Yeah,
Oh, that's no way.
there is,
They better practice.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, make it clear.
so I do, and we'll probably wait till we get to like maybe October and do that. I think that's fire safety anyway, right? So, but we'll pick a Sunday that's nice. Right? Even last time we did it, it was a little chilly. It was a little chilly, but we'll try to avoid too much chilly weather. Afterwards, sign up, ask me, but let's pray. Let's pray us home because we have been here. Lord, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to minister to your children, to love them, to show them how much God loves them. Lord, help us to do everything according to your will. Lord, we pray all of these things. Oh, before we close in prayer, just offer travel mercies. Get us home safely to our families, to our home, to our beds. Help us rest and get good sleep. And come back and serve you with all of our hearts and minds and souls, bodies. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for being here way long. I'm sorry.